This is Chamber Chat on Chamber Channel 3 and 117.2, brought to you by Smith's Pharmacy, where your care is their only concern.
This is Chamber Chat brought to you by Smith's Pharmacy, and I'm Deb Height. Today we're visiting with Deb Davis of the Emmitsburg Municipal Utilities, and welcome, Deb.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, this is your first time visiting us with us today, and we've got a pretty important topic. I was at the meeting, the informational meeting the other night about your new venture at the Emmitsburg Municipal Utilities. Why don't you give us a little background about what's going on?
Okay. Trust me, I'm really excited.
You are.
Emmitsburg Municipal Utilities has decided to present to the voters about having a telecommunications municipal utility. And the reason that this came about is that we feel as a town that we need to increase the speed for our internet and improve. We'd like a faster speed even for cable TV and for phone. And we got to talking about it, and it just kind of blossomed, and we decided that we needed to investigate and find out what we would have to do to make this happen. Okay. And so the longer we talked and the more we investigated, we thought we can do this. So what we're trying to do is bring fiber to every home in Emmitsburg. And what this does is it increases the speed. So like if you're at home and you have 2 or 3 children, or you don't even have to have children, we have my husband and myself, and we have high definition TV going, and he's on the computer and I'm on the iPad, and we begin to slow down. And so then things are coming in a slow motion. And this day and age, I just was investigating, there's a lot of smart TVs being bought. And when you have a smart TV, you bring down applications, you can video stream, you can bring Netflix in, and you have to have speed to do this. Now, you could call our vendors in town or any competition and get speed, but they don't deliver the speed to the home. They give you the speed, like if you say I want 10 meg, that's 10 meg at the port of entry in town or wherever their pipe is, they call it. Mm-hmm. And so every foot you're away from that, you slow down. Plus, depending upon how many people are on that pipe, also slows you down. So if you've ever noticed at night when the kids are home, and like I have to do book work on our computer and I pay bills through banking and stuff, it slows down tremendously. And that's because so many users are on there. So as we go forward in the world today, and with the smart TVs and the Netflix, we call it video streaming or gaming. I'm a big gamer. Don't tell anybody that, okay?
Okay.
And so anyway, everything really can slow down. And so people get upset because they can't do their business. They can't do their jobs that are really important, or just, you got to have fun in this world. So you want to enjoy different things and get new things. So when we were talking about this and we investigated fiber to the home, if you say to me and call up and say we want 10 meg, you're delivered 10 meg. You don't have a different upload and download speed. Like if you call different vendors, they'll say, well, we'll give you this upload, we'll give you this download. With fiber, you get the same upload and download, and you get that speed at your house.
That was the amazing part about the information.
Yes.
Yeah, because we use a lot of that here with the radio and the TV, and that can be a problem with the upload.
And it is. It'll just stop you, So under investigation of this, and I keep talking internet, we'll also be providing cable TV and phone. But internet is so important to the businesses in town. And we also own a business in town, and we do a lot of our business by credit cards. And so we need that speed to deliver, to give the card back and keep our business going during peak times. And so that will even be a good thing for any business.
That's right.
And we've also talked about businesses are getting so involved with the computers, like you talk about banking, and like even at Horizons where we work at 2:30 we're electronic documentation, and we come to a crawl out there. because everybody's on the computers trying to get out there to the server that's in Mason City with the company
sure.
they belong to, and they're trying to get out, and it'll be slow. And you know when you get impatient with the computer and you keep hitting the buttons, and all of a sudden you have 10 more windows open? You know that you've gotten impatient. So speed is the need, and especially for our businesses. And so when we started talking about this, we also investigated like economic development, and we went out there and we said, what are our chances of bringing more businesses to town without an internet fast speed connection? And they said that is the number one thing they ask. And if you've probably heard a lot about this, somebody was having a project, I think it was Nick, and he's on our board, and Nick Steinkamp, and he said, he's doing business, has a project now where the engineers, one's in Nebraska, one I think was in Florida, and one was someplace else, and it's all by the internet. These people are at home working.
That's right.
And we have a beautiful lake setting, so if you had an individual come into town that could work strictly out of their home, and their first question is going to be, what's the internet speed?
That's right. And some of that's already happening.
It is happening.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like holding us back a little bit. And we feel that we have to take destiny in our own hands because we're a small town. And so, when you have your vendors that have, bigger monopolies or metropolises, they're going to spend the money where they have the most bang for the buck. I'm not putting them down, and we could be on their radar, but we don't know when we're on their radar to get updated. And so we don't want to be an advantage. We want Emmitsburg. We've done so many things in the town to make Emmitsburg better, and this is another piece to the puzzle.
That's right.
And it's a very important piece to the puzzle. So now individuals out there are saying, well, I don't have internet. How's this going to help me? Well, with this fiber, you get the cable TV, and you have high definition. And you've probably experienced that they're on the upper channels, and it's digital and things like that. You really don't have true high definition until you think you have a piece of it now, but when you get that speed in there, you're going to be amazed at the difference in contrast. My brother lives out on the East Coast, and he has fiber to his home. And he has, you have an option out there, just like you'd have here, that you can have cable TV through the way it is currently. You can have it through a dish or a satellite, but it can't compare to fiber. And so my brother has it, and he said that people will come to his home and they have the exact same TV he has, and they're like, what kind of TV do you have? Because the picture is so much different. And he says, no, I just have fiber. And that's how different it is. So it's going to improve your TV, and then also your phone. It would be a landline phone is what it looks like now. And there'll be different packages out there. And that's hard to say, what they'll all look like for sure at this point. So there's just improvements all the way around. And the thing that I really like about us taking control of this is that the money will stay in Emmitsburg. And so the municipal utilities is really good at putting back into the community money and keeping it here. And so in a way, last night I stayed at the meeting, you become a shareholder by voting for this. And also when you keep the money here, then you're investing in your town. And when you have stockholders, and I'm a stockholder in companies, so I understand how it works, you have to appease your stockholders when you're a big monopoly. And they want so much from the bottom line. Well, it's the same thing. So here you're a stockholder in your town, so to speak. And an interesting thing that we found out yesterday was that there's a study that was done by RVA, and it's an LLC company, or also Fiber to the Home Council. They have done a study, and they found out that by having fiber to your home could increase the value of your home up to $5,000. So it's an investment in your home.
That's interesting because I've heard the same thing about trails, that if you have a trail near your home, that adds value to your home too, because that's what the new home buyer is looking for. Yep.
So we have found, and that's kind of how we got into this a little bit.
Wonderful. So am I correct in thinking that Emmitsburg voters have already approved the creation of a municipal communication utility?
Yes, they did that in 1999.
Okay.
And they approved it, and the reason that we have to, it's being voted upon on November 5th, is because now we're asking for the financing.
Okay.
And the reason that we have to ask for the financing, which we didn't 10 years ago, or it was longer, in 1999, is because in 2005, the vendors, numerous vendors, went to the Iowa legislators and kind of called foul play with that utilities could use their revenues from like their gas or whatever to put into this new utility. And so it was passed that we couldn't subsidize. So we need the money. We have the money. I mean, like to go out and sell revenue bonds. We could do that if they would let us use our gas revenue as collateral or whatever and show our good faith, but we can't do that. And so what we did is the fuel group, which is part of Chamber, we just told them what we had in mind, and they were so excited about it that they jumped on and sent out a flyer to every home. And on that flyer, we discussed the tax, because we had to go to the city council and ask for GO bonds. And the reason we had to do that is because the bonds people couldn't sell the bonds without nobody would buy them if they weren't guaranteed they were going to get their money back. It would be a bad business decision. And so we did take them out. We visited with the council, and they felt this was such a good thing that they were willing to take it to the voters to have government obligation bonds, which would increase, I want to emphasize the word could, increase the taxes that the Emmitsburg resident would have to pay, the property taxes. And the reason I say could is because if we get at least 60% of the people to take this in Emmitsburg, there would probably be some property tax increase, but not as much. If we get 70%, the higher the percentage goes of the utilization in Emmitsburg, there might not be a property tax. But we, as the utility board, we wanted to put the open book out there and give the worst case scenario.
Right.
And so we did that because I didn't want anybody to say, you didn't tell us this part. And so it looks bad in the flyer, but I wanted people to understand the word could. It's very important. I feel in my heart that we won't need the money. I really, really do, because we have such a good product.
Wonderful. Sounds good. So is there a difference in the utility that we planned then?
Yes.
As what we're talking about now?
Yes. Back then it was a hybrid system. It was on coaxial cable, is the way they stated, to make it kind of easy for people to understand. Now it's fiber, and fiber is instantaneous, and it delivers. And a little bit what I explained in the opening was when you're on coaxial cable and they call them pipes, they can't deliver the speed to the home, and so it's not as instantaneous.
Okay. At the meeting, they kept referring to this as glass.
Yes.
So fiber optics. When we talk about fiber, it's fiber optics we're
Correct.
talking about. Okay, so does anyone in town currently provide this system?
Not at this time. The utility will be the first. And that's why we felt we needed to pursue it. Again, for economic development, the future of technology in Emmitsburg, education for our children, even up through the college age. For the education, a lot of the students nowadays are doing their homework and sending it in. And so I've heard human outcry that it's slow when everybody at night's on there. So it takes the kids longer to get their homework done. Plus, sometimes the connection is dropped due to the slowness, and they have to start over. And so, education-wise, even though you get on the internet and learn a lot, but, to get their homework done, we're going to see more and more of that. And even for college-age kids, they do a lot of work out at home, at night.
Well, the high school students all have their own computers now.
Yep.
And so they do all their work on
Yep.
computer, which makes a difference. If the referendum gains support of just over 50% of the voters, will the project proceed?
No, I'm afraid not. By Iowa code, and I'm going to read this so I get it right, section 384.26 states that we must gain at least 60% approval.
60% approval.
Yes,
Okay, so we know then where we need to go for that.
yes.
Okay, so if the public measure D, which is what we will be voting on, passes, then when will the construction begin?
We will immediately, and I mean immediately, have the engineer finish up the bid documents. And he stated last night at our meeting that it would take 30 days, and he would be ready to let the bids in January. And that's very exciting.
That means there's no time to sit around and wait
No.
for costs to change or anything like that.
No, and then by that means that we feel we'd be up and running in the fall.
In the fall, okay? About
Yep.
7-8 months, then that's
Yes.
not bad.
And you know, the weather will play a big part of
Oh,
it,
always
whether
does.
they can drill or whatever, so.
I also thought that was interesting that they were discussing how they drill. It's not like they're going to come in and tear up people's yards. No, they're going to bore from the side and go all the way down the length of the block. Is that the way, did I understand that correctly?
I think so.
Yeah.
You know, it will, and the utilities we've already stated that everything will be put back. We will make sure that the grass, if it's been touched or whatever, we'll put back. But it'll be minimal. I'm not saying there won't be some, but it'll be minimal,
Sure.
you know. So the one thing that I found really interesting too is everybody, I think, remembers the cartoon The Jetsons.
Yes.
It debuted in 1962, and it only ran a year, but it was in syndication for 10. So that's how popular it was. And then it was brought back. And the Jetsons were about the space age in the 21st century. And what I found pretty ironical is that all of that has happened. You know, when Jane would call her husband George, she would be on what we thought was a TV screen, which is now a monitor, and she
Right.
could see him. And now we have FaceTime
That's right.
and all that kind of. And they transported their food and stuff through tubes throughout the house, which they called transport tubes. The bank already does that for cash. So,
That's
you know,
right, they do.
They do. So you know, they wanted to enjoy life better, and so. I just think that's a good analogy of that was in the 20th century. Now we're in the 21st century. They were portraying it. It's really happening. It's here now. So we need to do that.
Yes.
So.
Well, the what we're talking about is not a cartoon. It's real life, and it's definitely a advantage for business. That's for sure. So, Deb, I couldn't help but notice that the company that you're working with, it's called TCA.
Yes.
And they have this program, not this program, but the original program in a number of towns.
Yes.
And this is top of the line. So now what those towns are doing are going back and trying to go from fiber to the home instead of the coaxial cable.
Yes. And I'm glad you brought up the company because I kind of slipped that part a little bit. This is TCA. Their home office is in Sanborn. And we had a lot of discussion last night why we picked this company. And we did a lot of research on this. And the reason we picked them is because we are part owners.
That's
We
right.
are not buying the service from them, so like there's not another person involved. We are part owners. We will have individuals from Emmitsburg. They have two boards. One's a programming board, and then the other is like to run the board. And I'm not to run the each entity as a whole, because you'd share equipment like the boring equipment and the satellites are there. So if they have to update a satellite, there's so much expenditure to belong to that. You have a say. Well, and so which is really nice is that if you want to have a certain channel, you can always take it to somebody in Emmitsburg and talk to them and have them take it to this board. And of course, we'll all have equal percentage and equal say. And so we felt having a say in the operations was very important.
You bet. And how many communities are on with the TCA?
There's four.
There's four now.
It's Sanborn, Paulina, Hartley, and Primgar.
Okay.
and they're very successful. And the thing about this company, another thing we investigated was their customer service. And that was very important to us because we wanted everybody in town to be taken care of and to have customer satisfaction. And a lot of times you hear that in this day and age, this is every company, a lot of businesses use automated tellers.
That's
And
right.
it's not so bad that you have an automated teller answer your phone, but when you got to push one to say that you maybe reset your cable TV, or you reset the modem, or you reset the power, or you did whatever to your computer, and you have to go through all these steps. Some people get very frustrated. And I know that I'll push 0, and I can usually pretty well set mine to a point, so I get really frustrated that I have to keep going through the steps. And so, but even to get 0, you don't get a live voice. You don't get a live person. It goes through another step. I did it one day, and they said, "No, we'll start again, please." And I'm like, okay, I'll go through the steps. But so for us and where we live, and we have a huge population that find this overwhelming. They just want to buy it and they want to make it work. So we're going to make it happen so that we have individuals to help. We've discussed a lot. We will have a technician in town, and we will also, the utility people that we currently employ are going to get a little bit tech savvy and help out, so they can help with the basics, and we can get right there as soon as possible.
Wonderful. Also, is it true that everything that's in Emmitsburg is owned by Emmitsburg?
Yes, yes. We will have probably what they call a head-in office, and so everything will be like there, and then the fiber will come there, and then it'll be equipment that'll head out there. And I will say, for TCA, another plug, Nick and I went over there and toured their facility in Sanborn, and it's just wonderful. It's very spotless. Everything is it was very customer service orientated. Plus, we felt that they took really good care of their equipment, because you've got to have generators that can back this up in case they lose electricity for hours, because they're going to different towns.
Sure.
And it was amazing. I found it really informative, and they were switching over then all their equipment to the digital age, so that they were going to do it anyway for their own towns, but this would accommodate Emmitsburg because we had talked to them.
Okay. Well, this gives people of Emmitsburg another choice.
Yes.
And so is there anything else? I should
Well,
ask, is there anything else you want to add here at the end?
I would just like to make a closing remark here, and I'm going to bring the Jetsons up again. I know, because I just want to say I would like to reflect on the Jetsons, because the whole scene, which anticipated so much of the technology we have today, but strangely not email or texting, reflected the ethos of time, a love of progress, and a vision of the future that stayed on course. The Jetsons' world is our world. Explosive technological, can we start that one?
Yes.
Okay.
Don't get going too fast.
Yeah. Okay. So in closing, I would like to reflect on the Jetsons, the whole scene, which anticipated so much of the technology we have today, but strangely enough, not email or texting. It reflected the ethos of time, a love of progress, and a vision of the future that stayed on course. The Jetsons' world is our world. Explosive technological advances, entrenched middle-class culture, a culture of enterprise that is very fond of the good life. That is the vision of the Board of the Municipal Utilities that we want for Emmitsburg.
Okay, well, we thank you for being here.
And thank you for having me.
You're welcome. We hope this information has been helpful to you as the election day, November 5th, that's a Tuesday, comes up, where you will be asked to vote on Public Measure D. We thank you for joining us. So this has been Chamber Chat, brought to you by Smith's Pharmacy, where your care is their only concern. Thank you.
This has been Chamber Chat on Chamber Channel 3 and 117.2, brought to you by Smith's Pharmacy.